listening to the Project Ignite podcast,
where real digital entrepreneurs reveal their very best tips, tools, and strategies to help you ignite and grow your online business.
ProjectIgnite.com. Your digital business starts here.
Now, here's your host, Derek Gale.
Welcome to another episode of the Project Ignite podcast designed to skip the hype, skip the BS, and give you guys real actionable tips, strategies, tools, you name it, to help you grow your digital business. This is your host, Derek Gale, and today we're going to be talking about funnel design and development, and that's always a popular topic on the podcast because, I mean, let's face it, pretty much every online business lives and dies by their ability to create a successful sales funnel, and I love nerding out on this stuff. I eat, sleep, breathe this stuff when I'm not doing my podcast. I'm that's what I do. You guys know I'm spending about 10 grand a day on media through my businesses, and I'm driving them to funnels, and I'm testing and testing and testing. So I love these conversations. And today's guest is a funnel building expert and founder of a digital agency called Intentionally Inspirational that offers sales funnel strategy, design, and management, specializing in ActiveCampaign, ClickFunnels, and Zapier. They're pros at helping companies get more emails, increase engagement, and make more sales, things that we all want to do. And they do it in a language that can actually be understood. And you guys know I love talking to agency owners because they get to see a lot. They get to work with all kinds of businesses. And so they have a really broad perspective. And so I'm looking forward to this conversation. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Jason Wright to the show. Jason, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So I always like to start with my guest story. Where'd you come from? How'd you become this funnel guy? How'd you end up, with your agency? What brought you here to this podcast here today?
I love that question. I was working for a family company, 5.5 years ago. And I just went into work one day and I thought, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want people telling me what to do. I don't want to commute. I'm tired of living my life on somebody else's terms. So
was it your family or was it a family?
No, a family.
Oh, okay.
And they were very successful financially, but the thing that really bothered me was like the main guy in charge, the old guy, wasn't very nice to people. Wasn't a great guy, to be honest with you. And he was worth $300 or $400 million. And I was like, if this jerk can do this, like, surely I can make enough money to feed my family and like have a little bit more life satisfaction, a little bit more control over my time and where I'm going. So I set out to kind of figure it out. How do I build a business online? It's kind of funny because I got my wife on board with this neighborhood magazine idea, and I'm sure you've seen them around your area as well. And I wasn't really that excited about it, but I was like, this is our take it out. And I was making about $80,000 a year at the time, which was fine for us. And I think I can recover this income in 3 months. And I just made up the 3 months. Like, I have no idea when I came up with the timeline, but surprisingly, she got on board with it. And she's not a risk taker. She's not an entrepreneur. And so I ended up telling the company I was leaving, and I said, why? And I told them, they're like, oh, we love entrepreneurs. We'll give you an extra month of benefits just to help you out. I'm like, wow, that's great. So quit my job, thought I had 6 months of savings, and I was out of money in about 2 months. Had made some sales, but you didn't get paid until you actually got a magazine to print. So I didn't have enough sold to actually get paid anything. So I was like, now what? So long story short, I basically had to go back to corporate America after getting to a point where I couldn't pay any bills, couldn't buy groceries, had to beg a family member to help me cover basic living expenses because I got us in a really bad spot. So I got through that, got a job in sales, and then on the side, I just worked in my business trying to figure it out. Eventually, I started making money writing, doing some blogs and stuff like that, but I was like, I don't really want to do this for a business. So I was on Upwork finding clients one day, and somebody on my team, I had a team I couldn't even afford to pay, but she said, hey, you should check out this product called ClickFunnels. I think you'll find it interesting. So I looked at it. I was like, oh yeah, I can use this and try to get more email lists for myself and then share people like whatever I'm trying to share. I didn't even know really. But anyways, I started noticing more and more people were looking for help with the stuff I just learned how to do myself. And that was like Facebook ads and ClickFunnels and ActiveCampaign. Basically fast forward a few years, and I was able to quit my day job and kind of do this stuff full time. It's kind of pivoted and evolved ever since. So digital marketing was not the plan. Specific in platforms is not the plan, but you know how it is. You see a niche that makes sense, that you like, that you're good at, and you pivot towards it. So here we are.
So, and that's interesting. So, I mean, I like what you've done there, but let me ask, why did you choose? Okay, I understand why you chose ClickFunnels, right? You found it,
Sure.
you saw other people. Why Active Campaign?
So Active Campaign, the reason I started using it is because I was trying to do, like so many people, I was trying to do Facebook agency back in the day. And I was like, God, I need to incorporate that text element, but I can't really figure out how to do it with ClickFunnels. So a buddy showed me how he was doing it. And as soon as I saw the visual nature of Active Campaign, how they work in their automations, I was like, oh my God, that's how my mind works. So I quickly realized that it was a very powerful platform, and it was I was naturally extremely good at it. I'm great with the strategy and great with the architecture, and that the way they display their automations, I couldn't design it better myself. So I instantly was drawn to it that way. And then I realized the company is growing so fast that the opportunity to work in this platform is never going to go away. I think they're like at 150,000 active members on there. Were like at 30 or 40 or something when I started with them. So that's how I got with Active Campaign.
Yeah, and I just want to point out for our listeners, what you did there, I think, was really smart, because I see too many people, and this is just a general business principle, trying to be everything to everybody, right? I help business get traffic. I help people build funnels. Well, yeah, find an ecosystem, particularly if you can find one that is super passionate. And if there's one thing Russell's and team has done a fantastic job, is creating this cult-like passion around a piece of software. Right? Like that's what cracks me up about it. It's a piece of software, but they've done such a great job of building that tribe and that passion and stuff. And plugging into it is, I think, a smart way to, to stand out from, all the other generalists out there.
Absolutely.
So, but before you plugged into them and said, hey, here's our sandbox, this is what we do, you were trying to be more broad?
Yeah, and what I figured was, because I figured out, because my first business back in the day was landscaping. And I was like, digital marketing is like landscaping, that you can try to be the jack of all trades, or you can kind of figure out what you really want to do. So I said, going into this, I know that there's things I'm not going to like. And as soon as I identify them, I'm going to avoid them. So I used to do a little bit, like right away, I was like, I'm not going to be an SEO guy. Like, I have no interest in that. I used to write a lot of content copy. I'm not doing that for anybody now, unless we're doing a full custom funnel build. I'm not helping you with your website. It's very specific. So over time, I've been able to say, is there enough demand in what I really want to do to just do that? And, now it's like, we're using my marketing stack because that's where I'm an expert, or we're not working together. Like, it's that simple of a proposition, and it's fantastic. So it's, like I said, it just over time kind of figured out which ones it worked out with. So,
and there's enough people that are using ClickFunnels and Active Campaign to build a healthy, sustainable business on.
When there's even a third group of people that are like, I'm not married to any platform. I want to work with you. So whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to do. All right, let's roll. So that's the other group.
And so, just out of curiosity, when you're bringing on clients, how many of them are already plugged into that versus how many are like, I'll use whatever?
Yeah, great question. So for a long time, I remember telling my wife this. I think the business was part-time, but it was like a healthy part-time. It was all about ClickFunnels because there wasn't enough people doing it on an intelligent level. And now there's, you can have people build your funnels for a couple $100. It might be a 6-year-old kid in a third world country, but I mean, there's a lot of competition there. You get what you pay for. But now it's really Active Campaign. Active Campaign is the catalyst to everything, right? Most new leads, new conversations involve it, whether they've already got it or they know enough to know that they want it. So that's where it all begins for me.
So these are just questions I'm curious about. Do you think it's
sure
like ClickFunnels? I mean, they've sort of marketed themselves to be, anybody can build funnels. You don't have to be a designer, a programmer, or whatever, right? Is Active Campaign a more of a learning curve? So people get into it and they're like, shit, this is where I really need the help, and that's where they bring it to you. Do you think that's why it sends more to you than ClickFunnels?
I think they both have a deceivingly large learning curve. I think what people realize, I have this conversation every week, is unless you want to do this full time, Mr. or Mrs. Business Owner, I mean, you're not going to learn it because you're not going to put enough time into it. And if you're a smart business person, it's not your business, you shouldn't put time into it. So when people realize, holy crap, even though it may be user friendly, there's still a massive learning curve, that they're not going to do it. They don't have time. And if they did have time, they're either already independently wealthy or they're making a horrible decision as a business owner. So active campaigns are the one that really intimidates people, because for me, you and I may be talking, and as you're telling me about what you want to do and where you want to go, my mind may be building automations in 3 or 4 platforms. As soon as I start trying to talk to you about that, you're going to go, whoa, 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 whoa. Most people's minds get really overwhelmed really quickly with triggers and goals and these type of things. So active campaign is the one that perplexes people pretty quickly.
So yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. All right. So I want to get into the funnel side, but I got some other questions for you, because you've obviously built yourself up as a successful agency and bringing people in and working with you. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that are ClickFunnels effectively agencies, right?
Yeah.
How do you get your clients? How do you succeed with that? What do you do differently?
It's a really interesting question. So all of our work is inbound. We don't do any paid ads at all. Everything's inbound. And it used to always be like Upwork. I have a lot of Upwork reviews, was a great lead source. The Active Campaign Certified Consultant Directory was a great lead source. Even Google, grabbing one of our blogs or a podcast or something like that. But now, to be honest with you, repeat business and referrals have become the main thing. And I think that's where everybody wants to get to, because if I've worked with you and we've had a great experience and your buddy Bob reaches out to me, your buddy Bob may be like, hey, let's do what you did for Derek, and here's my credit card. How do I pay you? It's a great way to start a conversation, because I don't need to sell you anything. I just need to say, here's the invoice, here's what your options are, which one you want to do, here's a timeline, let's roll. It's really easy. So that's where we're at these days, man. It's really amazing, but the road to get here was not easy. It was a lot of Upwork was a huge piece of my success, and people will argue with me, oh, Upwork's trash. Really? If you're getting invitation only leads, there's phenomenal clients on Upwork. So we just don't do it much now, because we just don't need to. We just kind of struggle to keep up with what we got. So
yeah, well, I've coached and worked with a lot of freelancers through my training programs and stuff, and that's what I always say, guys, is the holy grail where you want to get to is to the point where you don't have to be outbound anymore. It's all repeat referral, and a referral client is so much nicer than somebody who you're reaching out to, because they're already sold on you. They've already been pre-sold, right? But, I think I want to just highlight that point, for people that are listening that are in this boat. Upwork is even today is a fantastic lead source, but like in any market, there's dickheads and there's great people, right? And I still, every week we have people on Upwork for one-off jobs and tasks, and I've got people. In fact, one of my top guys in one of my businesses, who's been with me for 6 years now, I hired him initially on Upwork, right? And it is a fantastic source. And I would love to know how many agencies got their start there and eventually were able to move away. I got to think it's been just a huge incubator for people like yourself over the years.
I remember thinking, like, there's, because I read and saw somewhere that, if you get top rated, it's a smaller group. And then like the most beautiful place you can get to is invite only stuff. I was like, I'll get there someday. So I became obsessed with the 5-star review. I would go in, I would say, hey, Derek, we're going to do this project. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get the 5-star review. If I do a good job, I'm going to keep following up with you until I get it. So I made that my obsession. And then I figured out you can either be the Saks Fifth Avenue of Upwork, you can be the most expensive, or you can be the cheapest. And there's less competition if you're the most expensive. Last time I checked, their maximum hourly rate's $999 an hour. I'm at $997 an hour because I don't want anybody to reach out to me who's not already successful in business. I'm not going to help you figure out your business. I want to help you with what we're talking about. So people say, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. Nobody will pay that. Well, people will pay that. And it attracts people like yourself. It attracts people that appreciate expensive services and things. See, a lot of people never stop and go, oh my God, people like buying expensive services as well. So it completely changes the game. And if they would let me go higher, I'd go higher. But it's just at this point, people will see it, they'll Google search it, and they'll usually just book a call with me direct anyway. So it's a great tool.
Yeah, and there's a valuable lesson in there. I've harped on this so many times. So many people get into business and they just compete on price, right? That's it. I always want to be a premium in my market, and
Yep.
and coming at it from the client side, when I do go to Upwork, when I do post a job, I typically just chop out the bottom half in price. Like, I don't even look at it. I'm like, no. I mean, if that's what you think you're worth, I don't want to work with you, right? Like, I want people that know they're good, and then couple that with the reviews. Now, to that point, I think there's probably a valuable lesson in here for people is getting those 5-star reviews, keeping clients happy. What's the secret to success with the projects that you're working on? I think I have an answer, but I want to know what your answer is. Like, you had to boil it down to one thing. What is the key to success and making clients happy?
It's going to be more than one thing. It's going to be a couple closely linked things.
Okay.
Setting upfront expectations is very important. Yes. And then clearly communicating no matter what. So for example, I will tell people, hey, for this project, this may be, 3 to 4 weeks is my estimated timeline. This thing may take us 8 weeks, but you know what? At the end of that 8 weeks, you're going to be completely satisfied. You're going to know what the heck I've built, and you're not going to have any more questions. The reason I say that is typically the type of projects I do, they take on a life of their own, and the clients will think about new ideas, and I will throughout that process. So they're fluid, right? It's not as clear and cut and dry as you might think, and that's not a bad thing. It's actually a very good thing. So setting those upfront expectations, if something happens, saying, hey, Derek, this thing's going to take me another 2 to 3 weeks. I'm behind schedule. Here's why, and I'm just gonna make it up to you. I'm going to find a way to over deliver, and it works out great.
So we're totally on the same page. Number one, and I think this is key, is setting expectations, right? Like, and this is where I see people screw it up all the time, right? You get a client that comes in with an unrealistic expectation, you nod and go, okay, to get the project, and then it just goes sideways, right?
Yep.
And then the other side is that communication, right? That's so key. So yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. All right, so let's talk about funnels right now, okay? And dig into that. I love funnels. I mean, at the end of the day, that is the key to making everything work online, really. Let's start with the mistakes. You work with people that are coming to you, I assume. They bring their funnels to you and go, help, it's not working.
Yep.
What are the primary mistakes that you see people making with their funnels when you take them on as clients?
Yeah, usually what I see is, in my opinion, and people will argue with me, and that's fine, but they focus on the wrong elements in the wrong order. So I always teach a funnel as kind of 3 different steps, right? You've got traffic, you've got the front end, or the pages that people see and interact with, and you have the back end. Everybody wants to start with the traffic. I want to spend money on ads. I want traffic. And then you start to break it down. Where are they going and why are they going there? And then they're like, I have no idea. So, okay, we have a problem. We're going to be wasting a lot of your money and a lot of your time. So let's start with the back end. Let's have that plan that once we get somebody on a list, whether they're a customer or not, what happens next? Let's figure out the foundation first, then let's go to the front end, then let's do traffic last. So the fundamental mistake I see people make is they approach that backwards, completely backwards. And when I talk to them, they're never having good results because they have no idea what happened. So that's a big piece of it right there.
Okay, so they're focusing. That's not a word. Focusing on the front end, and so they're bringing traffic in. They have no idea what their back end is. So let's define back end. When you say back end, what is that?
Yeah, it's all the marketing automation magic that really matters. We've got email, we've got two-way text, we've got chatbots, things like that. Okay. And they'll feed into your sales pipeline and your CRM as well.
Right. Okay. So you figure that out, and then you start working on the leads coming in.
Yep. If we go from there to the front end, so the different pages, the different webinar pages, the cart pages, et cetera, then when that stuff's ready to go, then you focus on traffic.
Okay. So what is something you just said there that I'd like to dig into is you said chatbots and SMS and,
Yep.
so you're doing multi medium kind of funnels. You're using
Oh yeah,
more than just email. Let's talk
absolutely.
about that. I think that's an interesting rabbit hole to go down because, I'm gonna go out there and say 90% or more of the funnels are still just email, right?
Yeah.
That's where everybody's sitting right now. What are you doing in terms of chatbots and SMS? How are those fitting into funnels?
So I've moved away from chatbots. Obviously, ManyChat's a big monster out there, and it's very powerful. It's a very good tool, but I hate Facebook's relentless thirst for control over that platform.
Mhm.
So I was sending out I did everything right, I thought, to my own list, and they threatened to, block my page and all this stuff. So I was like, ManyChat's dead to me because of Facebook.
Yeah.
I like the two-way text because text is a platform. It's very easy. So like in the world of Active Campaign, there's a couple of players with the text. Their native texting tool is awful. It's one way only, meaning I can text you, and if you reply, I'll never see it and I won't know about it. So it's completely worthless. It's for notifications only. But I use a product called Sales Message, and it's two-way texting. So just like you'd expect. And what I find with text is if you think about who you text in a week, it's generally friends or family. So you're much more likely to engage with it and be chatty with it. So just by dropping in some well-placed text messages that are very conversational already in my sales pipeline, the results have been fantastic. Text is probably the easiest, cheapest way to supercharge the automations you've already got going. For example, in my world, if I present somebody an offer, so much time goes by and I haven't heard back, which is where most businesses will lose people in that pipeline. I can fire out an email and a text and say, hey, it's Jason here again. Do you have any questions what we last talked about? It's amazing how many people will never respond to an email that will engage with text right away. And the beauty is, like in that example, Active Campaign will log all of the conversation automatically by that contact. So text is just one example. You can also use like ringless voicemail, and you can use all these different things that integrate, but I'm a big fan of the multi-touch marketing because it flat out works, right?
Okay, so this is interesting. Let's go down this road. So two-way text. I'll be honest, I've been using text through Twilio
Yeah.
in our campaign, but that's, as far as I know, that's one way. And so we blast those out one way, and you just track it like you would an email.
Sure.
Give me some scenarios. Like if I'm emailing a list of 10,000 people, I don't necessarily want to have a two-way conversation via text.
No.
So in what scenarios do you use two-way text? Give me some examples.
Yeah. So for shopping cart abandonment, if I'm going to be sending people that have already shown some interest in a product, if I'm already going to be sending them emails anyway, I can put some text in there as well. If you book a new call with me in my calendar, immediately you're going to get a text saying, hey, Jason here, looking forward to our call. If you have any thoughts before our call, let me know. You wouldn't believe it, but like 70% of people respond to that text and they tell me everything I want to know before we even get to the call. So I'm closing people before we even get to our first call. And I'm like, what a weird thing. I didn't even expect that to work, but it works really well. And it's like, why is that working? Because we went from referral to booking a call to now we're on text. We're changing platforms, and text is a very comfortable environment. People are just willing to open up. So it's really fascinating. So yeah, you wouldn't use it in the big blast, but where people start to take some action and move forward in some different, different engagement type scenarios, it makes great sense.
Yeah. Well, I think any higher price, premium, smaller, longer sales cycle stuff where there's got to be human touch in the sales cycle for sure. I'm not going to use it in my e-com business, but I'm going to use it in the higher end, higher ticket stuff. Yeah, that's
you could definitely use it in e-com. So you could say, hey, thanks for buying this widget. If you have any questions about the product, just reply to this text. You actually use that for customer service if you want. A team could log into your text dashboard and respond that way as well. So you can use it for customer service, onboarding, anything you'd use email for.
And what's your favorite text service? You use
So because I'm an active campaign guy, sales message, it's sales MSG is my favorite that I've used. There's Yeti text and there's sales message, and sales message, I believe, integrates with maybe 3, 4, 5 different email marketing tools. Active campaign's just one of them. I've really enjoyed it. Yep.
That's slick. You know what, dude? I just learned something. I'd never thought of the two-way text. That's there's so many ways that can be used. And
here's the great part: Facebook's not controlling it. They're not telling me what the rules are.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, what a concept, you know?
It's just going. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, and people can unsubscribe if they want to. And I was actually looking the other day. I was like, I don't really think anybody has. They just ignore them. They don't really unsubscribe from it. So, and I don't abuse it, but I do use it, and I just added some more stuff today before we jumped on here, and I'm really, really liking it. So,
yeah, that's slick. And in terms of text deliverability, do you ever have an issue with that? Because I've seen a bit of issue occasionally.
Not that I'm aware of. So the way that I do it, it's kind of cool because I don't ever ask anybody, hey, can I text you? What I do is with Calendly, if they opt into the text reminders for our meeting, which about 70% of people do, I take that, I zap it in active campaign, and then I zap it in the sales message. So I get the phone number that way. But they've already said they want to text about the meeting. So I just use text that way. So people can unsubscribe if they want to. But I've never seen anything with deliverability issues that I'm aware of. Maybe there's metrics I haven't looked at, but if people use it, I mean, I get texts every week, so it seems to be working pretty well. So I'm not using it at real high volumes in my own business, but I've been, like I said, really happy with what it's been able to do.
Yeah, look, I think we're in the early phase of really people. I mean, SMS marketing's been around for a long time, but the technology is finally getting to that point where it's I don't want to say easy, but it's far easier for just the average Joe to set up and use now. You know, but we're at this interesting point where, you know, the big SMS spammers have sent so much SMS spam that, you know, some of the marketing that you see coming out of the AT&Ts of the world is, you know, we'll protect you, right, from this stuff. So, you know, for everybody listening, I think this is one of those times where, you know, it's going to obviously take a while, I think, before we ever get to an email type filtering and deliverability via text. But I suspect eventually we're going to get there. Right now it's easy. I think now's the time to get in there. And the reason I asked about deliverability is because I've really started using SMS more in some of my businesses over the past really 90 days. You know, as I feel like I'm late to the game on that. And, you know, doing it on volume, I think there are some, including my own here in Canada, that do filter certain texts because we've had some deliverability where I get some and I don't get some, right? But we're not there yet in terms of the technology to know why. Like, it's just kind of wild westy, right? So, okay. So, and I totally agree with you. You know, it's not on Facebook. They can't screw with you, you know, and that's, I'm with you on the chat bots. I've gone down the road. The rules keep changing. And I feel like I'm investing my time to build there to potentially have the rug ripped out from under me at any time. So yeah, I'm not as bullish on chatbots at this point. But you know, wait and see. All right. So you're using the text, and so they're just totally personal.
One or two sentences as conversational as you and I right now. That's the key. And if we just went about marketing in general, for any kind of copy that I write, conversational as can be. And like my whole sales style is like, here's what I can do. Here's the price. It's not negotiable. Take it or leave it. Like, I'm good with either one. It's really kind of that surfer vibe, right? And it's a premium product, premium service, and the right client's going to see it's going to make sense. The price point is meant to repel you, so no hard selling's needed if you're not the right fit. So yeah, conversational is key.
Okay, so one of the things you said there is you're using Zapier to grab the emails out of Calendly, phone numbers, drop them into the record in Active Campaign. This is one of the challenges that I see a lot of people have right now. See, I use Entreport, so right now I've got everything, the one upside of an Entreport or an Infusionsoft is everything sits in one place, right? Memberships, everything's just all in one place. But, a lot of people are, in fact, I would say the majority are in your boat where they're using a ClickFunnels, an ActiveCampaign, and all these different pieces. How do you keep it all synced? And does it all sit in your Zapier? Does it sit in ClickFunnels? What do you do for clients that way? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, so ActiveCampaign's your CRM. So, ClickFunnels I just use for the front end, just use to capture info, get them there. ClickFunnels and ActiveCampaign have a native integration. It's not real robust. So I use Zapier to fill in where ClickFunnels doesn't do a good job. For example, custom fields in ClickFunnels aren't going to transfer. So with Zapier, I can. But ActiveCampaign is really where everything is looked at from, the emails. It's where we look at for the people in the pipeline to make sales. And then you can see what people have purchased and what their history's been. So that's really the home base for everything.
So is ClickFunnels trying to become more of the full A to Z? I'll be honest. I used to use ClickFunnels back in the early days. I don't like being stuck in a box, and I have developers and designers, so I use WordPress because I can. I understand why people use ClickFunnels. Are they trying to be everything, and are they doing it well?
So I think they were trying to a few years ago. I was at Funnel Hacking Live and heard Russell say this 2 years ago. He said, hey, in the past, we've tried to do everything well. We're going to go back to focusing on what we do best. So in my mind, ActiveCampaign and ClickFunnels together are the perfect funnel builder, but one is not, doesn't do everything by itself. So I think if they just focus on the drag and drop front end stuff, I think that's where the lane they should stay in. And I think they are. Their back end, I've used it. You don't have the visibility or the control. So it's pretty weak in my opinion. So I tell people that all the time.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right, good. Look, we're heading towards the end here, and I've enjoyed this conversation. And honestly, dude, I appreciate it. I've actually taken some thoughts away in terms of podcasting. I love it. People ask me why I do the podcasting, and I'm like, and I've had people like, oh, can we advertise on your podcast? I'm like, meh, no. I'm just not out there trying to, monetize it and stuff. And people are like, why do you do it? I'm like, because I learned so much, I get to have these conversations with people like yourself, and you take away things and ideas. And this is like and honestly, I'm kind of an introvert, right? So this is I'm forced at least, 50 times a year to talk to somebody cool and have a great conversation. So I really appreciate it. Now, that being said, for our listeners who want to connect with you, want to learn more, where do they go?
Yep. Intentionallyinspirational.com. That's the front porch. That'll give you what you need and help you figure out where to go next.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, Jason, thank you so much for just sharing and not holding back and telling it like it is. I appreciate that.
I had a great time. Thanks for having me on your show.
Awesome, man. All right, everybody. Now it's your turn. Look, you know what I'm going to do right after this? I've got some notes of ideas that I took away from this interview, and I'm not just going to leave those notes to sit there and fester and eventually get, covered by another stack of notes that I'm not going to do anything with. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take an action what I learned right now about this two-way texting and how we can use this. And that's what you need to do. If you want to get something out of these shows, you've got to apply that essential ingredient, and that is action. I know I'm a broken record. I always say this, but again, that's the only way you move forward with this. So as always, if you like what you heard here, please leave me a rating, leave me a review on your favorite podcast platform. I prefer 5 stars. 4 is acceptable. Below that, don't want to hear from you. And well, thank you very much, everybody. This episode's a wrap, and we'll see you real soon.
Thanks for listening to another info-packed episode of the Project Ignite podcast with Derek Gale.
Any links mentioned, along with an entire transcript of this episode, can be found at projectignite.com/podcast.
And to make sure you never miss another episode, go to iTunes or SoundCloud now and subscribe.